Hello, my name is John, and today I want to share a story with you. It's not just any story, it's a personal journey, a lesson I learned about responsibility, teamwork, and understanding what really matters. This story might be relatable to anyone who's ever taken on too much and felt the weight of their mistakes. I hope it inspires you to embrace challenges and learn from them, just as I did. A grand plan for a perfect wedding. It all began 3 months before Sarah's wedding. Sarah wasn't just a friend, she was my best friend since childhood. We'd shared everything, from school troubles to family vacations. So, when she asked me to help plan her wedding, I was thrilled. It felt like a chance to give back to someone who had always been there for me. Sarah was overwhelmed. She had a high-pressure job and didn't have the time to handle every little detail. That's when I stepped in. "I'll take care of it," I told her confidently. "You just focus on being the bride. Leave the rest to me." At first, everything seemed easy. I started by making lists: venues, caterers, decorations. I was determined to create the perfect day for her. I didn't want her to stress, so I didn't bother her with questions or updates. I thought, I know Sarah. I'll make choices that she'll love. But in hindsight, that was my first mistake. I was so focused on taking control that I didn't involve Sarah in the decisions that mattered most. The venue drama. One of the first big tasks was choosing the venue. Sarah mentioned she wanted something simple but elegant. After some research, I found a beautiful lakeside venue. It had a breathtaking view, and I thought it would be perfect. I booked it without hesitation, and didn't even consult her. I wanted it to be a surprise. I told myself, she'll love it. But deep down, I knew I should have asked her. Still, I moved forward, thinking I had everything under control. Building pressure. As the weeks passed, I became more engrossed in planning. I selected the flowers, coordinated with a caterer, and even put together a playlist for the reception. I felt proud of myself for handling so many tasks. But the closer we got to the wedding day, the more I started to notice small cracks in my plan. For example, I realized I hadn't confirmed the guest list with Sarah. When I finally did, I discovered that some of her relatives weren't included. I quickly fixed it, but it left me feeling anxious. What else did I forget? The ceremony time mix-up. Just 3 days before the wedding, I was reviewing the schedule when I noticed something alarming: the ceremony time. The venue had it listed for 2 p.m., but I had been telling everyone, including Sarah, that it was at 3 p.m. Panic set in. I tried calling Sarah, but she was busy with last-minute errands. I thought about leaving her a message, but then I decided I'd handle it myself. "I'll just make sure everything is ready by 2 p.m., I thought. No need to worry her. This decision would come back to haunt me. The morning of the wedding, the big day finally arrived, and I woke up feeling both nervous and excited. I got ready quickly and drove to the venue, determined to be there early. When I arrived, everything was quiet. The staff was just starting to set up, and I felt relieved. "I've got this," I thought. But as I walked into the main hall, I realized something was wrong. The chairs were in the wrong order, the flowers were in the wrong places, and the backdrop for the ceremony was missing. I tried to stay calm and asked the staff to fix it. They assured me it would be done in time, but I couldn't shake the feeling that things were already spiraling out of control. Guests arrive, and so do the problems. By noon, guests started arriving, and the cracks in my plan became more visible. The seating chart I had carefully created was missing key names. The caterer called to say they were running late. And the photographer, whom I had booked months ago, was nowhere to be found. As I rushed around trying to fix these problems, Sarah arrived. She looked beautiful in her wedding dress, but the moment she saw the chaos, her expression changed. "John, what's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why isn't anything ready? I thought you had this under control." I tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come out. I felt a wave of guilt. She had trusted me, and I had let her down. A breaking point. As more problems emerged, I felt completely overwhelmed. The music system wasn't working, and some guests were complaining about the heat, because I hadn't checked the venue's air conditioning. Everything I had planned so carefully was falling apart. In the middle of the chaos, Sarah pulled me aside. "John, I appreciate everything you've done, but why didn't you check these details with me? Why didn't you ask for help?" Her words hit me hard. She was right. I had been so focused on doing everything myself that I didn't think to involve her or anyone else. I had taken on too much and underestimated how important communication was. What did I do wrong? As I stood there, surrounded by disappointed faces and unfinished tasks, I asked myself, what did I do wrong? The answer was clear. I had tried to control everything, thinking I could handle it all. I had wanted to be the hero, the one who made Sarah's day perfect. But in doing so, I had ignored the most important part of planning: teamwork. I hadn't communicated with Sarah or double-checked the details. I had assumed I knew what was best, and that assumption had led to disaster. Turning things around. After a moment of reflection, I knew I had to make things right. I apologized to Sarah and admitted my mistakes. "I messed up," I told her. "But I'm going to fix this. I promise." With her support, I started to take action. I called the caterer to ensure the food would arrive as soon as possible. I asked some of the guests to help rearrange the seating. The photographer finally arrived, and I made sure he started capturing moments right away. Slowly, the chaos began to settle. The ceremony started an hour late, but it was beautiful. Sarah walked down the aisle with a radiant smile, and for the first time that day, I felt a sense of relief. A wedding to remember. Despite the rocky start, the wedding turned out to be a success. The reception was full of laughter and dancing, and by the end of the night, Sarah hugged me and said, "Thank you, John. Even with all the chaos, this was the happiest day of my life." Her words meant everything to me. I knew the day hadn't been perfect, but it was real. And sometimes, that's better than perfection. What I learned. Looking back, I realized that my biggest mistake wasn't the seating chart or the late caterer, it was my attitude. I thought I could do everything alone, but planning something as important as a wedding requires teamwork. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to admit when you're overwhelmed. From now on, I'll remember that mistakes are part of life. What matters is how we handle them, and what we learn from them. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that it's okay to make mistakes, and that no matter how big the problem, there's always a way to make things right.